We're so glad you're here for honest discussions on the real issues facing youth and young adults today. In every episode, we dive deep, bringing you faith-based solutions rooted in God's unchanging word. We're coming to you live from Abundant Life Faith Fellowship right here in Cincinnati, Ohio. We're passionate about these conversations, and we know you will be too. Help us spread the word and share these powerful discussions with your friends by posting on your social media platforms. Let's grow together.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Rooted and Re. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Rooted and Re.
The uncertainties of life, just trying to figure out our life purpose. How do you figure that out? It can be a confusing time. And there's so much we talked about. One of the key scriptures, just to give you guys a recap, was in 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 3. God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, and God is the one that brings clarity in our lives, gives us peace and gives us direction when we need that. So one of the topics that we did discuss about, how do you deal with the pressure that comes from the influence of others, whether you're talking about those people that dearly love you and they think your life should be going a certain direction and you feel differently about that. How do you navigate that? Or even just the whole aspect of identity, trying to figure out yourself. You can't even figure out what you want to do with your life. It can be a very confusing time, but we did share a couple of, just leading points to help us navigate that. We talked about looking for mentorship, talk about networking, talked about, pursuing what you're passionate about. And above all, we talked about your relationship with God, just knowing that God has a plan for your life, And so pursuing that relationship with God does make a big difference. So today, we'll really just be building up on that. And specifically, we'll focus on navigating the struggles of transitioning into adulthood. So think about this, moving from being a dependent to being independent, So I want to paint this, just think about this. Be with me for a moment here. Think about what you anticipated when you finally turned 18. All right. That freedom at last, right? That now you can do anything you want, right? No one can tell you what to do. You have your own life. Now you can make decisions for yourself, So let me ask you this, when reality hit, what are some of the unmet expectations that you experience? Sometimes we have the ideal when you're in high school and you can't wait to graduate. You can't wait to have your freedom. You can't wait to earn your own money. You can't wait to live your life. You can't wait to call shots for yourself, right? So reality starts hitting. I don't know what your experience was like, but let me hear from you guys. When reality hit, what are some of the unmet expectations? Did things go as you expected? Did you buy the car that you wanted? Did you do what you wanted? Did everything work out well as you expected, or did you meet with unmet expectations? Let me hear from you guys. Just admit yourself, say your name, where you're logging in from, and make your comment.
Hi, Kiaria. No, I'm trying to think. My plan, I think I was so focused on graduating from high school. Closer when I turned 18, I guess that was probably the main expectation I had. And high school was really hard for me, so it was trying to get through that. I didn't end up getting a car and other things that came later in life, but I'm trying to think any other expectations. Well, we relocated here right after I graduated high school, so I think the expectation of trying to get to know new surroundings when you've been living somewhere for so long and trying to adapt. I think I handled it pretty well, but it was still some, challenges and things, but I think I handled it all right.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Gabby?
Hey y'all, I'm Gabby. I'm in Cincinnati. No, not at all. Okay, so I graduated from high school, and my plan, I feel like this is everybody's, all the teenagers. I'm going to move out when I'm 20, when I'm 19. No, not at all. I'm at home with my mom at 22, and I think just the bills and the things you just learning everything at home, and I think that's the best choice. Like just trying to get out there on your own is it's a crazy move. So yeah, the expectation of moving out did not go as planned as well, and I'm very, very happy. When it came to like cars and stuff, thankfully my mom got me a car. Well, my brother, he actually helped out the most, but he got me a car. They didn't want me walking around and taking the bus and other public transportations or anything, but he got me a car. But yeah, I think just take your time as you're like an early adult, because it's so much in this world that we got to do, and yeah, we just got to take our time. So yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. Anybody else wants to share the experience, and just to add on to that, maybe what are some of the unexpected responsibilities that you found yourself taking on? And it could be transition, not just from high school to college, maybe from college to work. I mean, just all these different things playing out, that can be quite a challenging thing, just one thing that you expect is a deal, but then when you get to the real life, I mean, it's a whole different ballgame. Melissa.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Melissa. I'm also in Cincinnati, braving the cold. So I talking about like on a responsibility that I had to take up myself, like transitioning from high school to university. My university is in a complete different location because in Jamaica the island is small. And so the main university, or like the top university, was like 2 hours away from where I am from. And so I had to move. And then with moving, also having to have internet access, that's something I had to like pay for on my own. Even though I was living with family, that was fine. And then also like commute, having to navigate like a new environment. I was safe where I grew up because I lived there for like 17 years, so I kind of know the ins and outs. Then moving to a whole new place where I had to relearn like routes, trying to understand people and the environment, ensure that it is safe, a safe place to be, and also trying to find good places to eat as well. But my biggest shock with adulthood was moving from Jamaica to the US. I'm coming from a warm island and coming into a place where the first year I got here, I was met with a snowstorm similar to this. And so trying to navigate the weather differences, that was one. Trying to figure out what I need to ensure that if I do go out into the weather, that I have, the covering. And transportation. And then also when COVID hit, like before that I was okay with, taking public transportation or getting Uber and so on. But when COVID hit, I no longer, my plan of being a passenger princess for the rest of my life didn't go well. I had to purchase a vehicle. And that took some faith as well, because I didn't know how to drive. I determined that I did not want to know how to drive as an adult, because my parents had a car. My friends had cars, so I had ways of going around. But coming to the US, I had to and when the prices went up, I had to figure out how that would work out as well with regards to like budgeting, and ensuring that I could, pay the increase in price or put that money towards purchasing a vehicle. So that's where faith kind of came into play, praying, asking the Lord what to do. And eventually he did lead me to purchase a car before I even took driving lessons. So I learned to drive in the car that I had. So it was just a whole series of changes, like this was like within a 10-year period. There are a lot of changes that can happen within your life. And it's just like taking it one step at a time. Like Gabby said, just focusing on the now, what you need to do now. In that moment, and figuring out what path you need to take, because there might be A, B's, and C's, and also getting the guidance and the counseling that you may need as well. And of course, prayer is important.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, let's hear from Zion.
Good morning, everybody. I'm from Cincinnati as well. And yeah, it's pretty bad over here right now. I wanted to elaborate more on like Gabby and what she has said as a person that also moved out at like 18. Yes, it's kind of like a normal standard. At the same time, I feel like a lot of pressure is being put on people to where it's like, okay, you do live in like sort of a position where it's like, okay, you kind of got to move out. But then sometimes you would start to like get into a financial point of your life to where it's like you're picking up things that you really shouldn't have to. And that's honestly what everybody, like when you're getting into like a bigger income, you tend to pick up more responsibilities than typically needed. And you pick up more expenses, and then last thing you know, you're getting paid like 500, like hypothetically 500,000 like a year. If you're having expenses that catch up to that, eventually you're going to feel like you're not making enough. But if you're not micromanaging or investing or putting your money into something that actually building wealth upon what you have, then typically you're going to feel like you're not in the right position in life or where you want to be.
And excellent input from all of you guys, because these are some of the things they never teach you in school, right? And we all have our ideal, and oftentimes when we start off in life, we start off with our parents' dreams for us, because we're young, we're dependent on our parents, and so we're receiving guidance, and the parents are doing the best way they possibly can to try and help you have a good trajectory of your life, But as you get older, now you're trying to transition from being dependent to being independent, and that time can be challenging because you're trying to figure out your life purpose. You're trying to figure out making decisions for yourself. There's what you have in your mind that is the ideal, what life should look like, what you envision life to be. But then when realities hit, you get your first job and you're thinking about, when I get my first paycheck, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to get all these things that I missed, right? So as soon as you get your paycheck, you realize Uncle Sam has taken a portion of it, And then all of a sudden you realize all these bills are coming, like, wait a minute, because somebody else was paying for these bills. Right? So you never thought about that, I remember one time talking to somebody, and this young girl, she used to complain a lot, when I grow up, how come we don't have a dishwasher in our house? How come we don't have all this? And the parents would say, you're fine. When you get a job, you can buy all these things that you want, right? But she was not putting into consideration so many factors in life. So it can be challenging, but it's to recognize the fact that you're going through challenges doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It's a matter of learning how do you navigate that, because you're going into a space you've never been before. There were decisions that were made for you that you didn't need to worry about, but now you have to make those decisions for yourself. You have to determine your future for yourself. So how do you navigate all this? Let's talk about a little bit about managing your own time and schedule, because that's a big one. So you think about it. You being in a structure where if it's school, everything is so structured, supposed to be at this place at this time. You have a teachers following up on your assignments, but now you're on your own. There's no one to manage that schedule for you, right? So how do you balance things out? Some of you might be in college or you're already working and you have there's so much demanding of your time. How do you manage that so that you have a balanced life? Because it can be challenging when there's so much that is demanded of you. And you have to manage your own time by yourself. In fact, the Bible says this in Psalm 90, verse 12. Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom, right? So that's a key thing to think about that you need to think about, how do I manage my time? How do I manage my schedule? So let me just hear from you guys. What are some of the tips that has helped you in terms of managing your schedule? Because your boss is not going to call you, you need to wake up and go to work, right? So unless you plan yourself out, it can be chaotic. You'll find yourself not achieving your goals or what you need to do. So let's just hear some feedback from you guys. What do you guys think? How do you manage your schedule and your time so that you have a balanced life?
Go ahead, Zion.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is something that I'm really glad to talk about because it's something that I've really been researching on. But simply just do it. I cannot like explain that enough. Whatever you want to do, just do it. Like sitting back and just like being like, oh, I don't know, or just like, oh, it's not the right time. It's never gonna be the right time because just due to when you allow fear to creep in, no matter what, it allows doubt. So when you have doubt, and also doubt is not something that's like from God as well. He's going to give you a clear vision. If he doesn't give you a clear vision, he wants you to trust in what he wants done for you, pretty much. So pretty much just having full faith in him. And when you allow doubt and fear to creep in, it allows you to get off of your goals or feel like you're not worthy enough or feel like you're not good enough. And then you allow other people to talk down or just feel like, hey, I see another person doing better than me, or I see somebody doing what I like. How come it was so easy for them rather than just simply doing it? Because once again, the things that we have in front of us, like a curtain, a wall, people just simply did it. It wasn't something that was like, hey, let me like, it was a lot of trial and error. Like it was probably wood, concrete, once again, a whole bunch of things that go into it. So simply the only way of like actually expanding and actually wanting to get what you want out there, like I know for me, like my work, just do it. Like get as much research as possible, expand your mind, trust in God and your vision, and just have faith.
Okay, and you bring up a very good point. Especially when you're looking at what other people are doing, that can become a distraction. Because especially in that space where you're unsure, so you're watching what others are doing, and you're trying to do what they're doing to replicate their success. But everybody's different. And your time. So much is demanding of your time, so you have to learn to balance that out. Let's hear it from Dejan.
Kiara, we're going. You can go, Kiara.
Oh, she's good.
Are you good?
Okay. I think the biggest thing for me was kind of, at first it was like Zion said, like just do it, like actually getting up and getting out of bed and doing things, and then I had to like move even farther from that and go from, okay, now I have to make a list and now I have to make a plan. Like, yes, you have God's plan, but once he tells you that plan or once he gives you those tools, now I got to put it into play with, I'm such a list person. So like sometimes I already did the thing that I was going to do, but I'll write it down just so I can see myself checking it off. So I think now it's the preparation of it and then putting those steps into play. So how am I going to do it? Because sometimes for me, especially, like I'll spend 3 hours on lesson plans for my students and then I don't have any other time for anything else. So then I'm staying later and things like that. So putting it all into play and seeing it first and then going out and doing it for sure has helped me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Excellent. Carrie? Okay. So if what I'm hearing from you guys is this, just don't wait for feelings to get things done. Just do it. All right? It's never going to feel right. You're not going to wake up feeling, it's not every day you're going to wake up feeling enthused to go to work or to do what you're supposed to do, And sometimes if we allow feelings to get in the way, we will never get anything done. Right? I came across a quote by Steve Covey that says this, that the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. All right? So just keep that in view. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. You need to know your priorities. That is so important. What's important to you, not to somebody else, because what's important to somebody else might not be important to you. Right? We're unique human beings. Our goals are unique. And so you need to align yourself with what your goal is, your life purpose is. And these are key things for you to keep in mind. So ask yourself, what's my priority? Because if you don't prioritize, somebody else will prioritize for you. If you think about it, you see advertisement constantly on the television, on your phone, they're selling something. In essence, what these companies are doing is that if you don't manage your finances, they're already planning for your money and how you're going to spend your money on them. All right. So the same thing when it comes to your schedule, you need to know what's a priority to you. You don't have to say yes to everything. right? You have to determine what's important for you and zero in on that and just get to do it. Just determine, you set the goal. One of the things I do every day, I have daily goals that I set in the morning. This is what I'm going to do. Does it mean I'll hit all my goals? No. But at least if you target at something, you'll hit something. So they say if you target at nothing, you'll hit your goal every time. And that is nothing, right? So your life has to be so targeted. Your life has to be so scheduled where you determine this is what you want to accomplish. So that's a great thing, because think about it. The goals that you have set, how are you going to get there? Right? Sit down, set out the goals that you're going to plan to achieve, and then pursue that, right? So any further comments on that before we move on? And I'm going to open this up, by the way. I know we're hearing from our young people, but I know we have also some seasoned people here who can share a few nuggets. I'm going to ask Sister Marie, I know you're a career coach, but just to share some input on that when it comes to schedule. What are some of the tips that you could share that would be helpful?
I'm sorry, Pastor Boniface, I didn't catch what you said. There was an echo. Could you repeat that?
Okay, so I was saying, what are some of the tips that you can share about, just managing time and schedule?
Oh, absolutely. With time management, some tips that I've shared with clients that I've served and students that I've served over the past is that first and foremost, it's important to be consistent with the time that you wake up and the time that you go to bed. When your schedule is all over the place and you're going to bed and waking up at different times, it makes it difficult to set a schedule and to accomplish things. So that's one big thing that I share with students. And then the second thing is echoing what Danielle said, making a list of things that need to be done is really important. And then also include some self-care in there, something to to kind of treat yourself and reward yourself, because if you don't have balance, what my experience has been with young people, they just always see responsibility, and what about me time? So it's important to keep that time in there as well. And then lastly, from a spiritual standpoint, remember what God says about you and his promises are to you, and make sure you include that in your plan. And if I'm coaching a young person that's in the body of Christ, I always remind them to lift those plans up to the Lord, because God will help them to order those steps and help them to see how it should be carried out.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So the next topic I want us to talk about is finances. A couple of you guys have, touched on that a little bit, because very soon you find yourself, you're paying bills, and there's what you plan to do, but then you find you're short-ended when you.
I think we lost Pastor Boniface.
Yeah, go ahead, Zion.
I didn't want to say anything. I thought I was just saying hi. I'm sorry.
I think Zion raised his hand.
You guys should keep talking. Let's give Pastor Boniface one more moment to jump back on, and if he doesn't, I'm going to yield the floor to Melissa and Devin to pick up.
Okay, Melissa, Devin, would you guys like to pick up on the conversation?
No, Pastor Boniface is back. Praise God.
I'm sorry about that. For some reason, I'm having issues with my internet right here. Okay. I don't know what the last thing you guys had me say before I disappeared.
You were talking about finances.
Okay, yes. So, just hearing from you guys as when it comes to finances, what are some of those challenges that you've seen? How do you manage your finances not to fall into that trap where you find yourself spending money on things you shouldn't be spending on, because they didn't tell you about this?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
So we're talking about finances, and what I'm saying, it's about managing finances, all right? So what are those things that you've learned about finances? Maybe mistakes that you may have made that you wish you knew, that you knew better, or maybe good choices that you made and you've seen the fruit of it, because once we get into managing finances, there's so much that is demanding of our finances, and we have to be careful how we manage our finances. Okay, so we have Gabby, we have Zion, and then Zelana. Mm-hmm.
I would say budget. You have to have a plan when it comes to whatever you're spending on, as far as bills, as far as outings, any of that. Thankfully, I can actually send the link in our group chat, or, everybody share it. But there's this Khan Academy. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, but I have a credit card with Capital One. And they give free investment, free budgeting, free, just anything you need about financial literacy. They give it to you for free. But I'm learning about 50, 30, 20%, that saving exercise. And 50% is going into all your priorities. 30% is going to anything that your outings, your food, your clothing, and then 20% is going to your savings. Or you can do whatever you want, but make sure your priorities is number one. But budgeting is definitely number one as far as financial literacy. So,
okay, mm-hmm. Zion.
I'm so glad that she said that, because that's like the biggest thing, especially like with technology nowadays. We have a community. So it's like we have YouTube, we have so much to where it's like everything quite literally is online. And there's also like mentorships as well to help you out with like understanding financially better. I've even taken free courses on my own. They got like Discords out there to even help you out. So once again, as much as possible, try to expand your mind, research, understand money as much as possible, and definitely read books. Like, I don't really have any offhand right now, but definitely like look into it, read more books on like how to like pretty much understand money, how to manage your money, where money is like going to, pretty much just the whole system of it. Because once again, wherever money is being spent, money is being made. So once again, you just have to understand that financially and reinvest, because once again, I can speak on this a little bit. Saving as much as possible isn't going to help you get to a better place. Personally, I can say that. But once again, when you find a way to make more and invest it into something else, you get more from that as well.
Excellent. I mean, you guys are sharing wonderful points here. Somebody once told me this, and I found this to be true. It's not so much how much you make, but what you do with what you make. All right? That is so important. Okay, let's hear from Zelana, and then we'll get to Dejan. You want to mute yourself, Zelana? I see your hand raised.
I believe her hand has been up for a while, so I would suggest that she clicks the hand button so that it will come off.
Okay, so let's go to Dejan, and then we go to Melissa.
Like everybody said, like Gabby and everybody said, like budget. That's something that, like growing up, I feel like I ain't never really learned like about budgeting. So I was just spending. And then like you look up, it's like, dang, dog, like she's everything. Like what happened? And And so I feel like that's an amazing thing to do. And like Zion said, also like saving, like it's good to save, but like also like invest. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, like just saving ain't gonna get you no. I mean, it will, but you know what I'm saying? Like invest some of it too. And so that was really just the only thing.
And then also it's like a discipline as well. Like you get at first, yes, it is cool to like have the money and use it, especially in high school, you get your first job, but after a while it does take discipline, and it does take, okay, I did want those things, but I need to put certain things into other things so that next month I have the bills that I need to pay. So it's learning that discipline for yourself before continuing on as well.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Melissa?
Yes, so just piggybacking off everyone, yes, budgeting, saving, investment are very important. And just a reminder, the sale isn't always a sale, so you don't have to, get that 20%, that 50%, that 70% off. Because it's very enticing, and that's how they get you, like, oh, this was $50, now I can get it for $10, and so you buy a bunch of it, and then you find that you don't need it anymore, and then after a while maybe you've outside of the return window, so you just have this thing and you may not know how to resell it, and it's just sitting there just taking up space, and it ate all your money. So it is also being wise when you see sales. Not every sale is going to be good. If it's like on a food or something like that, by sure. If it's like on furniture that you truly need, yes. But clothing and shoes can kind of wait for a bit. Not all sales going to be perfect. And also ways how you can like reinvest your money. First, how you save, like from my example, is that from my paycheck every Friday a certain amount comes out of my main account into my savings account, so I don't have to plan that I'm going to take money out. I let the bank, I tell them how much I want out, and it takes it out for me. So when it does come out and I look at my bank account, I'm like, oh, do I really need to take this out and put it here? But I really need it. It's out of sight, out of mind, and it's automatic. Another thing is also something called like high yield savings account, or HYSA. It's global. And you just have to research and find the one that is best for you. And as little as what's the smallest currency that you can put in, monthly or weekly or bi-weekly or whatever, just put it in. Like Daniel said, it's a discipline. It's something that you have to practice. It doesn't matter how small the amount, just put it in. It's doubling your investment, and sometimes you're getting like 3%, 4% on your investment. It's something that you can have for like a short amount of time, just to pay for maybe a vehicle or put down towards something, or something that you can have for a long period of time. Like having a pension plan or a life insurance, that can also be a form of investment as well. It doesn't have to be something that will be paid out at the end of your life. Sometimes it can help you during a life crisis, depending on the provider and things like that. So it's really doing your research, like Zion and Gabby says, doing your research, going to classes, free workshops, try to search them out. Networking as well is also good, because that's a great way for you to get the information that you need. And Pastor Boniface is good at financing too, so that's also a great resource right there for you guys. But it's definitely a discipline. I know it was very hard for me at first, because I'm a lover of shoes and clothes, and every sale I saw I wanted to. That's why I can say not all sale is good. But it's definitely just the discipline and just making practice.
Okay, so you guys have talked a lot about budgeting. Can you guys just break it down? What are the ABCs? Maybe I'm here, maybe I'm a college student, I don't have a lot of money, so why should I budget? What does it mean to budget? It might be obvious to some, but not obvious to some. So let's just break it down. Just the ABCs, what does it mean to budget? All right? Kerry, you wanna share your points?
So for budgeting, one thing that my parents taught me, whether you're in college or you're working, splitting stuff in half. So say you have to pay rent, split it in half, put a part up, and then the next time you get paid, put another half up. So that way you're not in the mindset of things of like, Because what I used to do is I used to have one check where I would pay all my other bills, and then that next check, like right before the first of the month, that would be my rent check, and then I don't have money to put in my savings or anything because that was my check. So that helps. And then also even having set amounts for certain things, like if you know how much certain bills are and stuff, like even writing it down. Like I usually do a checklist sometimes. I used to do a checklist where every pay period I got paid, I would make a list of what bills were due and their dates, and then, just check it off as I pay it. And sometimes if I had the opportunity with extra money, I would pay my bills up. And then sometimes that'll help me with extra saving. If I pay a bill up or if I have extra, just put extra in the savings. So it's different things that you can do. So I guess it's just depending on what works for you.
Okay. And if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is planning for your money even before you get it, So you're pre-planning beforehand how you're going to spend it, what your expenses are, So let's hear from Dejan and Danielle. How do you guys, when it comes to budgeting, what are the ABCs? And then also let me throw this to you guys also. Do you use a credit card or do you use your debit card? How do you manage all that?
I would say first for the budgeting, we actually just found like a budgeting app, and it kind of helps you kind of tell what your money is and then plan. So their big thing is every dollar goes somewhere. So every paycheck, what you have right now, you're putting it somewhere. And then when you get your new paycheck, before you even spend anything, where is that money going to go? Like, how much are you giving to yourself? I know Sister Marie said self-care and stuff. So what are you giving to yourself? What are you going to plan for throughout the month of when you're going to hang out with your friends? And then after that, what are you putting into your savings? And then what bills do you have? So it really helps. It's called Budget Bestie. It's an app. And it's actually really helpful with discipline as well, because it sends you a reminder every night, like, hey, what money did you spend? And it sometimes makes you feel really bad when you do spend it and you go over, but it's okay. It's fine. Learning. But that has helped us tremendously, the app, and it just stays on the front of our page, and we go through it and we can see how much we were spending, and it gives you an overview. So you're like, oh, I spent a lot on this going out for food. So next month I really need to be smart about staying at home and eating and things like that. So that's very helpful with the budgeting. And then as far as credit cards go, we have been really diligent about making sure that our credit is good for our future. We both kind of got credit cards in college, and at first it was just like, hey, spend a couple bucks here and then pay it off at the end of the month. But we're slowly learning, like, okay, what credit cards do we want for each other? And then how is that going to look as we go and get married and things like that? We are definitely still just doing research and trying to figure out the best thing for us in our marriage. So hopefully we have more to say about that later on down the road.
Okay, man. This is great conversations going. Melissa, can you help us? I know there are people who track on the chats that's going on. Maybe you can read some of the points that people are sharing. We don't want to miss out with the people who are sharing some of the comments there.
Okay. I would say before I read the chat, with regards to like budgeting, especially if you are like in school, you're not really getting money yet, or maybe you're just getting allowances and so on like that. It is also just kind of figuring out, what expenses do I have each week, transportation, food, and things like that, and then see if the money covers all of it. If it doesn't, then, especially if you're still getting allowance from your parents, then you can bring that to them, like, hey, this is what it is. Can you help me with this? Or they'll help you in either increasing the allowance, or they might advise you to get a part-time job, and then you can use that allowance plus the part-time job to kind of help supplement what you have. But Gabby had mentioned like a 50-30-20, 50% of your income, whether it's allowance or your actual income from being gainfully employed, goes to your bills. So always have a list. Even if you have to use an app or write it down, have a list of what your expenses are and what you expect to have in the future. Whether right now, yes, you're paying rent and internet and water, but maybe you're thinking of moving. What would the expenses look like for the future? So like you said, just plan for your money before you even get it. So it's just creating that discipline. But to go to the chat, there are quite a few. So Marie had said earlier about she was commenting on what Danielle said about writing things down that need to be done and checking them off as they get done. It helps to set self accountability. Then she said everyone. Oh, Sharon, no, that's just a housekeeping. Okay, so Jamie shared some information that could be some financial reading for you guys. Smart Money Moves for African American, Psychology of Money, Atomic Habits. So I would suggest that you guys go into the chat and screenshot what those book titles. Jamie also said no one celebrates your discipline until they need to borrow your results, but that's pretty cool. Beverly said the table with AO on YouTube, a plethora of financial literacy info. Yes, YouTube is a very good free resource for financial literacy or any type of literacy. Marie also said it's important to pay yourself first. It helps a person not to take from essentials to pay for something needed for personal care. Okay, David asked a question. How do you budget where all you have only takes care of what that is bills? So how do you budget when all you have only covers your bills?
Okay, that's a very good question and a common question I get from a lot of people asking about that. So the whole aspect about budgeting is about discipline. That's what it's about. It's not even so much how much money you came in, because people say, well, I'll wait until I have so much money, then I can budget. But how you budgeting? The scripture talks about when God has entrusted you something, if you can manage what you have well, God will entrust you with more. So that's a key principle. So whether you're a student, obviously you have minimum amounts of money and you have so many needs more than that, you still need to budget. How are you going to balance that? Because as you're faithful with what you have, there are more opportunities that will come for you. Obviously looking at side hustles. If you're a student, you can be selling shoes, whatever it is that you can sell just to make a little bit more money to manage what you have. So the more you have that discipline of managing what you have, the more God will entrust you with more. So that is the key thing, because if you don't have discipline now, even if you have more money, you will not have the discipline. You'll find you're losing your money. You're spending on things you shouldn't be spending on. You're draining your finances and they're not working for you. Elder Steve says this and I love this. Think of every money that you make, whether it's in dollars or those in Kenya in shillings. Where are you sending your dollar to do? What are they going to do? Are they going in prison that is in debt? Or is it going to accomplish something that is beneficial for you? So those are key things that we need to hear. I see, Africa, you have your hand raised up. So any comments that you have to share, unmute yourself. Hopefully we'll be able to hear you.
Yes, how are you, everyone? Are you listening to me?
Yes, we can hear you.
My name is Sam again, here in Kenya. But about the budgeting and having money, like for us, we have small businesses and we want to be millionaires. Then we feel like, it's going slow. We want to be millionaires, then you have small businesses. How can we turn it to be so that we can be millionaires? Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that's a good question. So he's saying that, in Kenya, they have small businesses and you want to be a millionaire. How do you get there, right? That's a very, very good question. We all should have aspiring dreams on how we can do better financially, right? So the question becomes, how faithful are you with what you have? And is it growing? How do you grow it? And this is where mentors come into place, identifying people who are successful and learning the trade, right? So those are key things to identify, and also having the mindset, am I able to grow what I have, right? So when you have the right mindset when it comes to finances, and you have the right principles that you're applying, and you have mentors to show you the ropes on how to do it, and even just to share what we're sharing right here, there are tools that you can use for budgeting. And also Zion talked quite a bit on investments. What can you invest? Sometimes it's not just money. I remember the first business I had, I just had $10 to start my business, right? And it all became an idea. You can convert an idea into a business, right? What service do you have? Because when you talk about resources, it's not always about money. Sometimes it's just an idea. The people who've paid me because of the information that I provided for them, right? So using what you have, what service do you have, what tools do you have, that's a tool you're going to use to convert it into finances, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're in Kenya, whether in Cincinnati, wherever you're at, there's always a need. Think about it this way, what problem are you going to solve? If you can solve a problem, somebody's going to pay you for it. Right? So that is a key thing. It might be just even making hair or selling a product that you buy. Nowadays with online, you can do things beyond the borders, right? Not just restricted in Cincinnati, not just restricted in Kenya. You can go into online, buy something and sell to somebody. Not everybody has a skill that you have. You can convert that skill into a business. So while you have your job that you're doing, right, but you're taking the skill that you have and it's also making money for you, especially in the age where we have technology. There's so much we can do. So think in those terms. What's one problem that you can solve and ask people to pay you for providing that service? Okay, so we have a couple of hands going up. We have Gabby, Zion, and then Melissa.
One thing that I didn't really hear, but you just said it, just surrounding yourself with the right people. I feel like a lot of young people, or just anybody, an adult, anyone, they surround themselves with people with stagnant mindsets, and they'll want to spend money on clubs and spend money on this and that. And like Daniel said, like, you have to have discipline. You cannot go out this weekend. You cannot spend money on fast food this week. You have to find people that wants to help you when it comes to your financial plans as well. So,
all right. Zion.
I wanted to touch more on, like, when I was talking about investments, and it could also help out a bunch of people in here. Quite literally, just invest in literally everyday use, like energy, like literally everything, like anything that you use, like lotion, quite literally anything, Vaseline, like hair products. Like, if you're wanting to invest or don't know where to start at, start with your everyday use. So that's a push in the right direction, and that can also help out the person that was in the chat talking about that earlier. Like, if you don't know, or like a side hustle or anything, once again, investing is more of something that's like, don't use what you need, pretty much. Is use whatever you can put in. Do not use whatever, like, if you only have $50 in, do not put in your full 50 expecting to get like 100 or even more. That's gambling. So I want to touch more on that, so that it's like a wiser decision being made rather than just like, hey, I'm going to invest and use everything that I got.
All right. Okay, let's hear from Melissa, and then we'll go to Jamie.
Okay, so I'm just reading the chat. So Jamie said, take it a day at a time. Do not get overwhelmed or feel guilty. Control the controllable. And then Marie says, in response to David's question, great question, David. It sounds like you may need to look at ways to lower your expenses so that you're not living paycheck to paycheck. Find out if there are local food pantries you can go to get food to lower your grocery bill. Make a list of all the things you are paying for and look at what you can cut out of your expenses that aren't necessary, such as a streaming service like Netflix. What are you good at doing that you can sell to others as a side hustle? And good evening, Gregory. That's it.
Okay. All right. So let's hear from Jamie.
I'm not the oldest on here, but being an old head. Bev, don't you smile. I see you, Bev. You're the oldest. Anyway, one important thing, we could talk about money, we could talk about budgeting, but the one thing that is a problem nowadays is social media. So I'm going to say one statement. There are some people and some situations that you have to remove yourself from because the atmosphere and environment that you're in will give you anxiety. So sometimes removal is not failure. Removal is growth. So you have to remove yourself from, maybe you have to cut off social media, because all social media gives you a facade of the truth. And some people do that too. I said it earlier. I was like, people don't want to be in your discipline, but they want your results. I don't say it that way to my boys, but I say sometimes people want to be in your party when they weren't invited. So sometimes you have to remove people from your party of discipline for you to be successful in life.
All right. Thank you for sharing. I also see we have Captain Ndege. I wanted you to share some, just your feedback and thought. I know you've been listening in. So Captain, you want to share?
Yeah, thank you, Coach Boniface. Thank you, everyone, for joining in the call today. For those who have not met, my name is Festus Ndege, coming from Kenya, and it's a pleasure connecting with you all. So these are my quick thoughts about how you develop the discipline around finance. I think one of the things you need to do is be intentional about the same. I remember end of last year, we were sitting down and doing an assessment with one of my mentors, and he told me that the surest way to get things done or to get there is actually being intentional about it. At some point, it means you have to invest in getting that knowledge. So I remember it took like, what was that? It was like $20 to invest in a course on personal finance. And one of my friends was a financial advisor. And we had to walk through investment options within the country. And I had to attend like 20 days daily, 1 hour, spending 1 hour to just learn about it, see what was possible, not out of obligation, but out of the place of understanding that there was abundance. The only thing that was happening was that I didn't know the right place to channel the amount that I had. And I realized over that time that there was a discipline that came in, that instead of going for high expenditure like activities, for example, on the weekends, I would go out with friends just, to have meat or do something. But then again, now this time, I'm considering, do I have football that I can go to, spend less amount, but still have fun while at it? So finding those alternatives is one of those ways that you get to cut down on cost. 2 is the times when you have to forgo other things. It's called opportunity cost. It means that today, I might want so bad to eat that burger, but I might just buy some carrots instead and get back to the house. I understand the dynamics here are different from the ones that you might have in the States, because here fruits are cheaper, or even vegetables, they're cheaper compared to fast food. So here it's the opposite. Fast food is much more expensive than vegetables. So then do I go for something that builds my health and still keeps me grounded while satisfying the need to have to eat something? And last but not least, what Coach Boniface talked about, that everything you have is typically for sale sometimes. And that starts from the information that you bear, probably the ability for you to know where to get the right thing at the right time and with speed. For example, if Melissa needs some shoes and I know where to get them in town, and Melissa does not want to leave the house, then I ask her, I'm going to town, I know I'm going to spend fare, you need some shoes and you don't want to leave the house, so could you send me? And then I'll put in my margin, let's say something 10%. I say the shoe might be 700, but of course I'll quote it at 800 shillings. You do this ethically because, again, remember, we are also rooted in the word and we people who were taught. So then when I'm from town, I'm able to bring back the shoe, gotten my money. If for every margin or every run that I run in town for my friends and individuals, I keep aside that amount over a period of time, then there's something called compounding effect. This one will grow my money little by little. If I take it and I put it in a fund or I do something, then it comes back easily. And the same way Zion talked about being able to know what is realistic, that you don't expect that I put in 50 shillings today and I want 50 shillings the next hour. It also grows you, because it makes sure that you don't invest in things like gambling, where somebody tells you, I want to give you $100 and you're going to get $100 instantly. You know it's not practical. even for the best paying, returns on investment, they'll tell you 10, 12%. So then it means that you also have to tame your appetite. Somebody says that for you to be conned, you must be the greedier one in the question. And I think that got me. That for somebody else to con you, you must be very greedy. It means that they sold you something, and because they saw your appetite in anger, which was untamed, and then they tapped into that, and then you ended up being conned. Sometimes, again, it's out of ignorance. So I tell people, invest in knowledge, invest in knowing, and invest in just building yourself mentally in that line. Thank you, and back to you. Sorry it took more time.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was awesome. I really do appreciate all of you guys logging in today. Today we had a little bit more time because we all snowed in, but we'll continue. I want us to continue this conversation next week. We'll talk about managing relationships. We'll talk about developing your own values and beliefs, defining your future, and also talk about, just handling failure and setbacks, So I do want to encourage you. There's so much. Let's get this conversation going. And before we log out, Melissa has a couple of announcements, how to stay in touch with us, for us to continue this conversation.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from in the world. We do appreciate your presence. We have a lot of people online today. So our numbers have grown this week, which I'm very appreciative of. And thank you so much for just joining and putting your voice together with ours. And I definitely learned a lot. I thought I knew, but, investing in knowledge, like Captain says, is really important. And so I'm looking forward to us continuing this conversation. Hopefully we can continue this conversation in our WhatsApp group. If you're not aware, we do have a WhatsApp community with our people here, young adults here in the US and in Kenya and South Korea. So if you are not a part of the WhatsApp group, you can message me or Pastor Boniface. You can reach out to us and we can get you into our WhatsApp group so we can continue the conversation. Also, we will be trying to put this session on our YouTube channel, Rooted and Real live podcast. Hopefully we can get it in by Wednesday. Of course, we'll keep you updated, and also being part of the WhatsApp group can help you stay up to date as well with this information. But it would be a great way for you to review and recap what we discussed, and hopefully still be able to glean additional information from it. Make sure when you go through the video, we will have more videos up. So when you go to our YouTube channel, make sure to like, subscribe, and even comment so that it can help us to reach other youths and they can also benefit from this initiative. So again, we have our WhatsApp group where we can, meet and continue our conversation. And we have our YouTube channel where we can help to continue bless you and bless others as well. So make sure that you stay in communication with us. It was really nice seeing all the beautiful faces today.
All right, so I'm going to close out with our prayer. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you so much for just empowering us and the great conversations that we've had. I pray we'll make better decisions with our finances and even with our relationship with you, Lord. Be glorified and keep us safe in Jesus' name. Amen.